Hello sir, my name is Vani and today I am demonstrating my task 6.1 distinction. So my task is based on developing a secure backend API using ASP.NET Core for a robot control system. The main goal of this project is to implement authentication and authorization so that only valid users can access the system and different users can different level of permission based on their roles. The application follows a REST API architecture where different controllers manage users, robot commands, and maps. PostgreSQL is based as the database, while ASP.NET Core handles the backend logic and API endpoints. The project also integrates Swagger so that API can be tested easily through a browser interface. The user controller.cs file is responsible for handling all user related operations in the system. This controller contains endpoints for registering user, retrieving users information, updating user details, changing login credentials, and deleting user. The controller user authorization policies to protect the controller uses authorization policies to protect some sensitive endpoints. For example, only administrator can view all user, delete user, or update user roles, while normal authenticated users can access limited operations such as viewing the information or updating their password. During registration, the controller validates whether the email and the password fields are empty and then securely hashes the password before storing it in the database. Password hashing is an important security feature because it prevents password from being stored as plain text. Instead of storing a readable password like test123, the system stores a long encrypted hash string generated by password hasher user model. This improves security because even if the database is compromised, the original password can't easily be recovered. The robot command controller.cs file manages robot command operations. These commands may represent instructions such as moving forward, turning left, or stop the robot. The controller exposes endpoints for retrieving all commands, retrieving movement related commands, adding new commands, updating commands, and deleting commands. Authorization is implemented carefully. Administration are allowed to create, modify, or update commands. This separation ensures that ordinary users can't make dangerous changes to the root control system. The controller communicates with the data access layer instead of directly interacting with the database, which improve code organization and maintainability. The maps controller.cs file handles map related operations. Map represent the environment in which the robot moves. The controller allow user to retrieve all maps, retrieve square shaped maps, access specific maps and add new maps, update maps, delete maps, and access a particular cell. Instead, a map grid using coordinate. One interesting feature implemented in this controller is coordinate validation. Before returning a map cell, the controller check whether the requested coordinates are inside the map. Before returning a map cell, the controller checks whether the request coordinates are inside the map boundaries. If the coordinates are invalid, the API returns a bad request response explaining that the request position is outside the valid range. This prevents invalid navigation request and improves readability of the robot system. The user data access.cs file acts as the data access layer for user related database operation. Instead of writing SQL queries directly inside controllers, all database communication is centralized in this file. This improves separation of concern because controller only manage HTTP request and response, while the data access layer manage database operation. The file include methods such as retrieving all users, retrieving admin user, finding user by email or ID, inserting new user, update user, deleting users and updating email. The class uses npgsql to connect ASP.NET Core with PostgreSQL. One important security feature implemented here is the use of parameterized SQL queries through cmd.parameters.add with value. This protects the application against SQL injection attacks because user input is never directly concatenated into SQL statement. Instead, values are safely passed as parameters to the database engine. The program.cs file is the main startup configuration file of the ASP.NET Core application. It configures service, middleware, authentication, authorization, and Swagger. First, the required data access services are registered using dependency injection so that controllers can access them when needed. The file then configure basic authentication by registering a custom authentication handler called basic authentication handler. Authorization policies are also defined here. Two policies are created: admin only and user only. The admin only policy allows access only to user whose role CAM is admin, while the user only policy allows access to both admin and the user roles. Swagger is configured with basic authentication support so that API returns request can be authenticated directly from the Swagger UI. Finally, the middleware is added in the correct order. Authentication middleware runs before authorization middleware because the system must first verify who the user is before checking what they are allowed to access. The basic authentication handler.cs file is the most important security component in this project because it implements the complete basic authentication process manually. When a request arrives, the handler first checks the authorization header. Basic authentication works by sending a base 64 encoded string containing the email and the password in the format email password. The handler decodes this before base 64 string, extract the email and password, and then searches the database for a matching user using the get user by email method. If the user does not exist, authentication fails immediately. If the user exists, the handler verifies the password using password hasher. Verify hasher password. This compares the entire password with the stored hasher password security. An additional feature in this implement is backward compatibility with old plain text password, allowing both hashes and plain password to work temporarily. Once authorization succeeds, the handler creates claims such as name, role, email, user ID. These claims are then attached to the authenticated user identity and used by the authorization system to enforce access policies. Finally, the handler return and authenticated result success. Object allows the request to continue. So as you can see, when I run this project, this is the table I have made on pgadmin. So when it will load, so basically it will show a table. Then this is the Postman. uh, I have tested my endpoints here. As you can see, id 8, id 15, id 17, and after that I have inserted id number 1. This is basically get id, get admins, all the admins. You can see here are the all the admin, only id 1 is the admin. And here we can see details of user 1. Here I have posted this data as it is posted already, so it is showing error. I have make changes in the id first. This is the this is what I did. id 2 is deleted, so I already deleted, so it is showing 404 because user with id 2 is not existing anymore because I have deleted it already. Patch request, it is partially it partially amended id number 2. So that's it.